The evening call to prayer had just ended, its echoes fading into the humid dusk. The sky, streaked with the last colors of daylight, seemed to hold its breath as the first heavy drops began to fall. In a small West Sumatran village, Misniati hurried home from the mosque, rain soaking her clothes and blurring the familiar path beneath her feet. The streets, once bustling with neighbors and laughter, were now eerily quiet, emptied by the sudden downpour. The water, once a harmless puddle, now surged up to her waist as she reached her door. Each step grew heavier, the current tugging at her legs, the world she knew transforming with every passing second. Inside, her home was no longer a sanctuary. Brown water rushed in, furniture floated, memories threatened to wash away. The walls that had sheltered generations now echoed with the sound of water and fear. She whispered a prayer for safety, clutching a few precious belongings, a faded photograph, a family heirloom, a child's toy, each item a piece of her life she refused to let go. The water climbed to her chest in minutes. She knew she had to leave, her heart pounding as she waded toward the uncertain night, guided only by hope and the distant voices of neighbors calling out to one another. Misniati's story is one of thousands, each a moment when the familiar world turned dangerous, when the ordinary became a struggle for survival. Across the village, families scrambled to higher ground, clutching children and whatever they could carry. Some were woken by cold water in their beds, startled from dreams into a nightmare, forced to flee in the darkness with only seconds to spare. Others faced sudden walls of mud, the earth itself shifting and sliding, swallowing roads and homes in a matter of moments. These are stories of survival and fear, but also of strength in the face of nature's fury. Neighbors became rescuers, strangers became family, and the community's spirit shone brightest in the darkest hours. Misniati's prayer echoed the hopes of millions that night, hopes for safety, for loved ones, for the chance to rebuild what was lost. This is where our story begins, not with numbers, but with a human heart, beating with fear, courage, and the will to endure. Before we talk about storms or governments, we must understand what it felt like to lose everything, to watch the world you built swept away in a single night. Homes were more than buildings. They held laughter, dreams, and a sense of safety. They were the backdrop to birthdays, weddings, and quiet evenings together. The flood washed away not just possessions, but the very fabric of normal life, leaving behind stories of loss, and the hope that, somehow, life will begin again. To truly grasp the scale of this disaster, we must confront the numbers head-on, no matter how difficult they are to accept. Over 600 lives have been lost across Southeast Asia, each one representing a family torn apart, a future forever changed, and a community left to mourn. Hundreds more remain missing, nearly 300 in Indonesia alone, and 170 in Sri Lanka. For every missing person, there are loved ones waiting, searching, and hoping for news. Families wait in limbo, clinging to hope for miracles, caught between hope and despair as the days stretch on. Millions have been affected, homes swept away, farmland submerged, and entire livelihoods destroyed in a matter of hours. For many, everything they've built over generations is now underwater. In Indonesia, 80,000 people have been forced to flee to crowded shelters. In Thailand, over 4 million have felt the flood's devastating impact, their daily lives upended overnight. The numbers are staggering, almost beyond comprehension. They paint a picture of devastation on a scale rarely seen. But behind every statistic is a person, a family, a story of loss and resilience. The toll may yet rise as rescuers continue their tireless search, braving dangerous waters to find those still missing. Yet, for every loss, there are also stories of survival. Neighbors risking their lives to help each other, strangers coming together to save lives and offer comfort. The numbers reveal the scale of the challenge ahead: healing wounds, rebuilding homes, and supporting every survivor as they try to piece their lives back together. These statistics are not just a record of tragedy, they are a call to action, a reminder that help is needed now more than ever. We must remember the people behind the numbers, the faces and families whose lives have been changed forever. The crisis is far from over. The work of recovery and relief has only just begun, and the need for compassion and support grows each day. These numbers demand not just our attention, but our compassion, our resolve, and our willingness to stand together in the face of disaster. The flood swept across nations: Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, Sri Lanka, leaving a trail of devastation that stretched as far as the eye could see. Torrents of water surged through city streets and rural villages alike, transforming familiar landscapes into vast, unrecognizable lakes. In Sumatra, entire villages vanished beneath raging rivers. Families watched helplessly as their homes disappeared under the relentless current, their lives upended in a matter of hours. Homes were torn from their foundations, leaving only emptiness and the haunting memory of what once stood there. The muddy water swallowed everything: possessions, memories, and livelihoods. In Thailand's Hat Yai, a record-breaking downpour submerged first floors, overwhelmed hospitals, and filled morgues. Rescue boats became lifelines, ferrying the stranded to safety as the city struggled to cope. Malaysia's Perlis became a lake, forcing thousands to flee their homes. Entire neighborhoods vanished beneath the floodwaters, and families clung to hope as they evacuated by boat, searching for higher ground. Sri Lanka, battered by a fierce cyclone, saw over 15,000 homes destroyed. Survivors picked through the wreckage, searching for anything salvageable amid the chaos left behind. The disaster spanned thousands of miles, uniting diverse cultures in shared suffering. People from all walks of life reached out to help one another, forging bonds in the face of adversity. The water ignored borders, flowing into homes, schools, and mosques. No place was spared. Places of learning, worship, and shelter all succumbed to the rising tide. It reminded us that we share one planet and one vulnerability. In crowded shelters, families huddled together, drawing strength from each other as they faced an uncertain future. The swollen rivers became a symbol of a crisis that crossed boundaries, both physical and cultural, demanding a response that was just as far-reaching. Each place had its own story, but the devastation was universal. The pain of loss and the struggle to rebuild echoed from one community to the next. Too much rain, too fast, nature's power unleashed in a matter of days, reshaping lives and landscapes with unstoppable force. The region's response would have to be just as united: neighbors, nations, and strangers coming together, determined to face the aftermath and rebuild stronger than before. In the chaos, heroes emerged: rescuers, police, soldiers, volunteers. Their mission was daunting. Floodwaters blocked roads, washed away bridges, isolated entire towns. In Sumatra, some villages were unreachable. Rescuers made agonizing choices. They waded through chest-deep water, braving debris and strong currents. Landslides buried roads, and stormy skies grounded helicopters. Communities faced darkness, scarce clean water, and the threat of disease. Families huddled on rooftops, rationing food, waiting for help. Hospitals overflowed. Doctors and nurses worked beyond exhaustion. Setting up shelters for tens of thousands was a massive task. Aid was stretched thin, but determination was strong. The struggle was not just rescue, it was survival, health, and hope. Every hand extended was a lifeline in the flood. As disaster unfolded, governments mobilized. Indonesia's BNPB led massive rescue operations, deploying thousands of responders. Cloud seeding was attempted to redirect rain. Thailand's government faced public anger, offered compensation, and suspended officials to show accountability. Sri Lanka declared a state of emergency and appealed for international aid. Governments coordinated rescues, shelters, and damage assessment. Their actions brought order to chaos and hope to survivors. Why was this disaster so severe? It was a perfect storm of natural forces. The annual monsoon was supercharged by rare cyclones: Cyclone Senyar in the Malacca Strait, Typhoon Koto near the Philippines, and Cyclone Ditwa in Sri Lanka. These storms dumped record rain, overwhelming the land. Scientists point to climate change. Warmer oceans fuel stronger storms, and a warmer atmosphere holds more moisture. Extreme weather, once rare, is now more frequent. This was not just heavy rain. It was a collision of monsoon, cyclones, and a warming planet. Understanding this helps us prepare for the future. We must build stronger communities and better warning systems. This disaster is part of a larger pattern. Preparation and adaptation are now essential. The lessons are urgent and clear. Even in darkness, kindness shone. Neighbors rescued neighbors, shared food, and opened homes. In Thailand, shopkeepers gave away supplies. In Malaysia, communities organized donations. Social media became a lifeline, spreading information and support. People formed human chains to cross currents, carried patients to safety in flooded hospitals. These acts of bravery and generosity revealed the true strength of community. The spirit of gotong royong, helping one another, turned strangers into family. Kindness became the foundation for recovery. As the waters recede, the work of rebuilding begins. Mud and debris cover everything, but people return with determination. Families salvage what they can, each small victory a sign of resilience. Cleanup is a collective effort, neighbors working side by side. International aid and government support offer hope for long-term recovery. Plans are made to rebuild stronger, homes on stilts, better warning systems. Faith, family, and community provide comfort. The road ahead is long, but hope is alive. The foundation for tomorrow is built on courage and unity. The world is watching, ready to help. Together they will create a better future. This flood taught us how connected we are, to nature and to each other. Disasters cross borders, so must our response. We must learn from this tragedy. Invest in resilient infrastructure, improve early warnings, and protect our environment. Recovery is everyone's responsibility, not just governments. The most important lesson is our shared humanity, courage, compassion, and unity. Healing means rebuilding homes and mending hearts. By listening, supporting, and working together, we move forward. Let this disaster be remembered for the unity it inspired. The waters will recede, but the bonds of kindness must remain. Together, we can heal, rebuild, and create a safer, more hopeful future. Our shared tomorrow begins now.